Joining us now is Major Doron Spielman, a spokesperson for the Israel Defense Forces. And thank you so much for being here, sir. What we saw earlier, it appeared this deal was on the edge of falling apart. How close did it come to derailing?
Thank you for having me, Kaitlin. Once again, the deal was definitely on the rocks for a while. And I have to say, we were not surprised with the delay. If you remember yesterday, there was also a significant delay. This is really probably part of Hamas's strategy. They are a cruel terrorist organization that never misses an opportunity to inflict emotional pain. You know, everybody was sitting on pins and needles. Everyone in Israel, certainly those families, waited 9 hours for their children and their mothers to come out of captivity after 50 days. And this is just more and more delaying tactics. I wouldn't be surprised if it happened again. And this is what we're up against. This is Hamas. I mean, who else leaves a family in such a lurch along with an entire nation? They know our weakness. Our weakness is how much we want these people to come home, and they simply exploited it.
So are you expecting that it could happen again tomorrow?
I'm certainly hoping not. I mean, we are dedicated to this framework. On our side, we've upheld all of the commitments that we committed to. The IDF is not fired on Hamas positions, even though we know that Hamas positions, we had the noose around the neck of many of the Hamas terrorists, and we've held down. We've taken a defensive position in order to enable our hostages to be freed. Again, this is a drop in the bucket, but I wouldn't put anything by Hamas. Again, these are the type of tactics. It's psychological warfare. They know that they can basically take the Israeli people hostage by dangling over our heads our hostages in the most cruel and pathetic way, and I wouldn't be surprised.
We know one of the disputes today that led to that delay was over Hamas demanding more aid make it through the Rafah crossing before they released these hostages. The other seemed to be over the number of hostages, Israeli hostages, that were being released today. It ultimately was a list of 13 people, not 14 as we had heard. One of those hostages that was released today was Hila Rotem. She is on that list. Her mother, who we know was also kidnapped with her, is not on that list. Can you explain why her mom was not released today?
Kaitlin, I really wish that I could explain to you why this young girl's mother is not on that list. It is truly horrific. This is a girl who saw her mother abducted in front of her eyes by Hamas. She then hid inside bushes at the kibbutz, trying not to make any noise. We know this from eyewitness testimony. They saw her hiding, and then Hamas terrorists noticed a movement in the bushes, yanked her out of the bushes, and she was then taken off into captivity. It's a horrific story, and to have a girl like that, she's not the only one. She's 13 years old, back in Israel without her mother, is tragic. We see this from two more children as well. The Orr family, you know, a 17-year-old and the 13-year-old girl Alma, whose mother was killed in front of their eyes. They were sent into captivity with their father, and now they're back with neither a mother nor a father. Just, it blows the mind what is going through these poor children's minds as we speak.
But did Israel ask Hamas why? I mean, we've seen other mothers released with their children as part of this group. Did Israel ask Hamas where her mother is, what condition she's in?
Well, the communication here is going through the intermediaries, which is Qatar and Egypt. Qatar and Egypt are working tirelessly to make sure that Hamas keeps up to their bargain. The understanding is that you're not going to have children released without a parent. It's kind of just extra cruel to send them back into Israel. They have to undergo the emotional torment of finding out that in some cases their mother is dead, while not having their father with them, or having a mother trapped inside Gaza. And again, this is Hamas. Even as the President of the United States said yesterday regarding that sweet little girl, Abigail, who we also are hoping to come home, even the President of the United States said he also doesn't know when she's coming home, because Hamas, each of these children for Hamas is a bargaining chip. They don't care about their life. They just care about releasing them in a way that it will serve their goals. A, psychological warfare, and B, to buy them time to regroup in order to try to carry out more terror attacks. It's truly abominable.
Okay. Okay, so Major, you seem to not want to answer that question. Maybe it's the IDF doesn't know what is the status of her mother. I do want to ask you, we heard from the Qatari Foreign Ministry spokesperson earlier who said in the next few hours they expected that next list of names to be released. Has Israel received that third group of hostages that are set to be released tomorrow at this point yet?
So we don't yet have that information, and the way the process goes is when we get the information, very hesitantly, I have to say, we have to go through a horrific process, which is to make those phone calls and to meet face-to-face with the families whose relatives are on that list. And this goes back to kind of a Holocaust-like scenario of a selection. You know, you're going to some families and you're saying, okay, your members are coming back, and the other families you're saying, we don't know where your family members are, and we don't know if they're on the list. It's one of the most difficult elements of this terror drama that Hamas has put us through. But that's the process. We let the families know. We try to keep their privacy for as long as possible, and then at some point we release it to the general public. I do just want to add about the previous question. I'm not trying not to answer your question. I do not know the status of this young woman's mother. And I think it's important to say that all of these people, including those people on the list, we do not have confirmation of exactly what their status is, Kaitlin, until they are back in Israel. Some of them could be alive. Some of them were reported to be dead and ended up turning up alive. Hamas is this shadow organization that's keeping that information from us. I really wish we knew more about this situation.
Yeah, I understand. And I know that there's not a lot of visibility into the condition of these hostages until they truly get back here. I do appreciate you going back to that. It's just a major concern, obviously, since she was released without her mother. And we've seen these other hostages being released with their mothers who were being held with them. The role, you talked about Egypt and Qatar and the role that they played in mediating this. Obviously, they've been at the center of it. President Biden himself had a phone call today with the Emir of Qatar earlier. What role did he play in resolving this delay that was happening today?
The specifics of that call, I'm not privy to tell you. What I can say is that, as we all know, none of the hostage release, none of the situation of Israel being able to retrieve its hostages, the humanitarian aid, our ability to carry out this war against Hamas could be done in the same way if it were not for American support. And we all credit President Biden with that and the American people. You know, this is a time, a watershed moment for the people of Israel, both because of the massacre, our feeling that we have an organization that simply wants to kill us. They've taken our people hostages. And this is one of those times in history where we'll look back in 100 years and we'll say, okay, who was with us and who was against us? And I can tell you that the fingerprint of America is with Israel. The support is truly incredible, this whole process, the whole way through.
Major Doron Spielman, IDF spokesperson, thank you for your time tonight. Thanks for joining us at this late hour.